G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. And yes, Fijian Drua versus the Waratahs in Suva. Pretty big loss and pretty massive performance from the Waratahs. A huge step up. But before we talk about the game and review the positives and negatives from a performance point of view for both teams, let's have a talk about the referee first, okay? Now, when I was a kid, and I'm sure if you have children and maybe when you were a kid, and if you can still remember it, we probably have all done this at some point in our lives, right? Your mother maybe tells you to, hey, throw out the rubbish from your room, Wildkard. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do it. And she'll be like, if you don't do it, you're not having dinner, right? I'm like, I want dinner. Okay, right? And in protest, instead of just throwing out all the rubbish as you're expected to do, you start throwing out everything, right? Have you guys done this before? You're like, okay, fine, I'll clean the room, right? And you start throwing out your books, you start throwing out your clothing, and then your mom's coming going, what is going on? You're like, you told me to clean my room, throwing out all the rubbish, so I'm throwing out all the rubbish, I'm throwing out everything, right? And your mother's like, God, I wish I could hit you, but I can't. Hey, all right, don't do that. Pick up the clothing that you're throwing out, and we're going to have a chat about this after dinner, right? So this is what I feel like when I watch Super Rugby and its referees and the TMOs. It's like watching a child, a 12-year-old child, doing things that have been, taking criticism, taking, things that the fans want them to do and just put it into the extreme, right? Start throwing out, the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. This is what I feel like watching Super Rugby. This is what I feel like, right? It's not adults running the operation at New Zealand rugby and Australian rugby. It's a bunch of 12-year-old kids throwing a fit out there live on TV. That's what I feel like when I'm watching Super Rugby. That's what I feel like when these referees seemingly deliberately trying to waste everybody's time after they got criticized last week for not checking the penalties and goals properly. Yeah, guys, let's give them what they want and just waste everybody's time on things that are very clear and obvious wasn't an issue, right? So let's go to this one example, right? There's so many things going on with this referee. I don't want to go make a 3-hour videos about it. But I'm just talking about a couple of things where really just makes my point. Right, here's the one. The Drua scores a try. They've gone back to look at it. Knock on, right? Now let's just have a look at this knock on, right? The line out's thrown in. It's fine. Not knock on here. No knock on here. No knock on here. Looks like the Waratahs player reaches over and he slapped the ball out of the hands into a Drua guy, and the ball is then knocked back from the Drua guy's elbow, and then this was picked up and played on, and that's pretty clear and obvious to me, right? You go back and look at that and go, yep, no worries, the try stands. They looked at this again and 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 again. And the TMO asked for different angles. There's no different angles. Zoom in. We can't zoom it in. This is the only thing we got. How clear and obvious do you need to make a decision? It's like they're deliberately wasting people's time to rile people up because we complain about the referees last week, right? Last week complained. You complained about a referee? All right, we're just going to waste your time to deliberately piss you off because we're a bunch of 12-year-old children. Just unbelievable. Look at how many times I watched this. There's absolutely no knock on here at all. Right? And then we go to the other extreme. Right? The Waratahs reserve prop, what's his name? It's actually quite good. It's only just like debuted a couple weeks ago. scores a try, no replay whatsoever, right? And then they're just about to kick the ball off, right? They're just about to set off the kickoff. They show this replay just one time, right? Just one time. This is the only time they show this replay. Let's just go slower because the TMO didn't do his job. We're going to do, I'm going to do his job for him right now. He's going for the dunk. He's still in contact with the ball here, so he has not knocked the ball on. And as the ball is getting grounded, the ball has come off his hand. He's still making contact with the ball, which is fine. But from here going forward, the only way this needs to be a try, two things needs to happen here to make this a try. Number one, the ball needs to maintain in contact with the player's hand. And number two, the ball must be pressed down. Put down with pressure for this to be a try. So the ball right now is coming loose, but it's still intact with the player's hand. So the first criteria is met, that the ball is still in contact with the player's hand. And second criteria is that he must press the ball down. He just fumbles it forward. There's no press down whatsoever, right? Let's watch that again. He needs to press the ball down. It doesn't matter that he came loose on his hand. As long as he maintains contact, it's fine. But he needs to press the ball down. The ball's not on the ground yet. It's still off. And again, touching the ground is not good enough. You need to press it down. It doesn't look like he pressed it. It looked like the ball just rolled out of his hand. That, in my opinion, should probably looked at more than once, right? They probably should look at this one a bit closer. And maybe this should not have been a try based on the fact that he didn't actually press the ball down. You could argue that. But instead, no look. Kick off, please. Good enough. And then we spend how many replays to watch this? Look at how many times. Oh, it's still the same replay. Still the same replay. Just rolling it back like 3 minutes and it's still the replay. We're still looking at the replay. Like seriously, if you told me that there's people in Super Rugby deliberately trying to kill off the game and piss off the fans, I will point out these incidences as the evidence. I will agree with you. I would agree with you that there's some rugby league spies or infiltration in the sport, and they're deliberately trying to piss off the fans and kill off the game, and I'll point to these things as evidence for that argument. Okay? So, yeah, and these are just like two of the biggest ones, and there are some other ones throughout the game. I'm sure the Fijian fans will probably tell me all about it in the comment section. But anyway, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about what we've all come here to do. Talk about rugby, the greatest sport in the history of the world. Somehow New Zealand rugby feels like they need to manufacture excitement with the referees on the field. But anyway, let's talk about the game. So let's talk about the Waratahs, because I am a Waratahs fan. I'm a little bit biased. I'm very biased, actually. Suali'i apparently had a tight hamstring before the game, and he was pulled out. Yeah. So he looked okay. He was walking around the sidelines. Maybe he's just a bit tight. And I think they're just like precautionary stuff. I highly doubt that he's actually injured again for another 6 weeks or 7 weeks or whatever. Hopefully, yeah, I think he's gonna be okay. Last time he put his leg, he was like, he actually sat on the bench with like, he was looking pretty disappointed, but he was looking fine walking around the sidelines. I am no doctor or like nutrition expert, but based on my personal experience when it comes to like, bodybuilding and working out, maybe a little bit too much creatine if you're having like tight muscles on your legs. That's like just, pulling yourself during warm up. Maybe too much creatine is my speculation, but it is, it's some issues that I think it's to do with nutrition and dieting and and recovery is the reason, I think, for these sort of injuries. Really shouldn't be happening, to be honest. But then the rest of the team, that was, despite the fact that he wasn't able to play, Riley stepped up to 13, and this Waratahs performance was actually something that I wanted to see 7 weeks ago, right? The biggest problem with Waratahs I felt throughout the season is the methodical drilling of the same moves again and again and again, the same spreadsheet, the spreadsheet moves that has the highest probability of winning you the game because you put the ball in these areas by kicking it. They've taken the spreadsheet and thrown it away this game, which I am so happy to see. A little bit too late, but I'm so happy to see that they at least turn that corner. Maybe Dan McKellar gets out of his system for next season. But it's so good to see that they're actually taking that out of the system. There's a lot more spontaneity in this performance. Unlike the previous weeks, just default to the same kicking game. There was a variety of kicking game that, in fact, I saw, in the first 2 rounds, the Waratahs actually worked on some of those kicking games, and they're just like, giving up because it didn't work, right? Round 1, we tried for it. Harry Potter tried for a little grabber, didn't work. Let's forget about it. Let's never do that again. They've gone back to some of the little cheeky kicks, like, grabber kick down the side, little kicks behind the defensive line that's rushing up a bit too fast, leading into like a Jorgensen try, and just little things like that. It's not the fact that whether it's gonna, a lot of times, let me tell you something, a lot of times, these little kicks, and, even they even did the French style of kicking where you will send the ball down wide, and then you kind of like push it down the field, near the try line and near the sideline and chase it down. And let me tell you, a lot of this kicking you might think like, it's just, it doesn't result in anything. What it does is that because they're so spontaneous, because they're not set up like a box kick where everybody can see it's coming, it puts in the opposition's mind that this is a threat. And when they next time they're rushing up for their defense, right, to try to make a dominant tackle in a rush defense, they're gonna have to think about the threat of you just kicking the ball over the top of them. And that threat is how you slowly pick up, separate disconnect the defense in that rushing defense style. That's how you're starting to get players to drop back more. That's how you're actually starting to open up the space, because the opposition cannot predict what you're doing. So a lot of times these things might not work out, but because you have it in your arsenal, the threat itself is a huge factor that the opposition has to consider. Even if you never do it, the fact that they're considering that you might do it is enough to give you that little bit of advantage that you're looking for in terms of getting a line break. And I think that is so important. And the Waratahs has lost that throughout the season, and they are looking like they're getting it back again in this game. Another thing after the Waratahs did really well is having set plays. The dummy maul into the Harry Potter crashing into the 10 channel, and later on with Tristan Riley, a very similar move, just showed that not only that there are set moves, but the Waratahs has planned that to identify the 10 channel, maybe Armstrong Ravola, who was a 10 this week, might not be, was it someone else at 10, I think? Who was at 10 for Drua this week? Yeah, Armstrong Ravola. Maybe they've identified that him being maybe a little bit weaker in the defense and tried exploiting that a little bit, and it worked very well. And something, again, the thought that went into it is something that I was really happy about. And also just being determined, keeping the pressure on, knowing that this is the end of the season, just going for the lineouts, never relent, and just build that fatigue into the Fijians, knowing that the big Fijian boys, they get tired out, and then they just kept on pushing, and they, never looked at they want to kick a penalty, and just, when things go wrong, you fix it, you try to push yourselves out of the comfort zone, and it's, yeah, I was really happy with this performance from the Waratahs. Teddy Wilson was starting ahead of, what's his name? Ahead of Jay Gordon, and he looked really good this week as well. He's been given the license to play heads-up rugby. He was a threat, just being able to pick up the ball and run himself, and instead of just, we've seen him so many weeks when he comes off the bench and he just does the box kicks, right? It's box kick. Now he's actually giving that again. Just do that a couple times, presenting yourself as a threat keeps the defense honest, right? Keeps the defense honest. They can't drift out, right? They can't just set up for the box kick already. They have to stay tight to make sure that you don't just take a ball and run for a little sprints through the middle of the road, through the middle of the field. So really, really important there. Just want to point it out. This idea of being a threat on the field, it's something that I haven't seen much for the Waratahs in the last maybe for most majority part of the season. The idea of that, no matter where you are on the field, no matter who you are on the field, you always present yourself like you're going to get the ball as a threat. Something that I sing a lot more in the Waratahs team tonight than they were in previous week, right? If you look at the difference between like Ireland in the Six Nations and, the other teams and the French team, I saw the top two teams, the difference between like Ireland, between Ireland and like England and Scotland, the Irish players, they always look like they're threatening. Even though the ball is never going to go to them, everybody knows. Every dog and cat in Dublin knows that the ball is not going to the prop standing down the train tracks. But he still looks like he's gonna get the ball, and he keeps the defense honest. Keep the defense guessing. There might be a switch, you don't know, and then suddenly you have to defend a big prop running at you in the short side. So he keeps the players honest, keep the defense alert for that sort of things, just by pretending that you're going to get the ball at all times. Something that I think the Waratahs have done pretty well this game as well. Now the Fijian Druas, they had a break last week. And, I don't blame the Druas for this performance. I think it's really important that they didn't give up and fought themselves back. And that's the most important part. The Waratahs were struggling in the second half. And the Druas knew it, and the Druas put the pressure and squeeze on. And one of the thing is, if you think about it, you have the head coach leaving. So there's a disconnect in terms of essentially the long-term goals has been scrapped. It's towards the end of the season. I don't think you can actually make the top 6 anymore at this point. And then you had a week off. So I think the preparation and everything leading into this game is just, it's very disconnected, and that really reflected in the game. The players, especially in defense, were just disconnected. Was just very, very disconnected. The players aren't talking to each other, aren't problem solving what's in front of them. And one of the biggest tell sign that the team isn't really talking to each other and communicating with each other, and not just on the field, but like off the field in preparation, is when Rambutu has got sent off again this week, where Teddy Wilson made a break, and Rambutu made a really, really good tackle. He did not have to knock the ball back. He just on the ground knocked the ball out of the hands of Teddy Wilson back towards his own team. He just did not need to do that. His players were there to get the turnover. That was a turnover. That was a great defense from his part. But because he didn't trust his teammates, or he wasn't communicating with his teammates, he felt like he needed to do that to stop a potential try being scored. Maybe to slow the game down or stop the try being scored, and he got himself sent off for a yellow card. And that's just probably the most obvious example that the teams in their preparation, it's a little bit disconnected there. So yeah, it is what it is. It's a tough one, but I think the Drua fans will be happy that they made a big comeback. There was one point that Waratahs was 36 points to 7 at halftime, just absolutely blowing the team away, 1 point per minute, and then to rescue that themselves out. I think Drua actually won on the scoreboard in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, really, really, really good to see them coming back. But anyway, let's have a look at the stats of the game. Pretty sure Super Rugby stats broken for this one, so just a refresh. Yeah, no stats from Rugby Australia, so we're gonna have to go with the Rugby Pass stats. 5 tries to 8, 5 conversions, so 100% conversion for the Druas, 5 out of 8 for the Waratahs. 117 carries for the Druas. They really tried in the second half to get themselves back. Only 109 for the Waratahs. 4 line breaks for the Druas, 6 for the Waratahs. 16 turnovers conceded for the Druas, 12 turnovers conceded for the Waratahs. A lot of territories played inside the Druas half, especially in the first half of the game. In terms of possession, if you're having possession inside your own half for the majority of the times, for a huge chunk of it, this is the reason why you're struggling. You're not able to exit your own half efficiently. The Waratahs, on the other hand, was able to very nicely get themselves into the areas they wanted to play for the majority of the game. 78% possession in the last 10 minutes for the Druas, but overall quite even. The Druas really, like, the fact that it was quite even showed that they pulled themselves back from the depths in the first half, which again shows some really good determination. 5 scrums for the Druas, 6 for the Waratahs. Just want a quick mention for the scrums. The referee made it really clear throughout the game that you need to keep your elbow up for the scrum. And a lot of times I thought, it's a bit of a there was one interesting scrum interpretation. I just want to quickly look at 49 minutes on the clock, just a little bit past here. So one of the scrums that it looked like to me, the Waratahs has won the game, but got pinned for boring in. Got pinned for boring in a very dominant scrum, and even in the scrum where in my opinion, both sides of the scrum has marched forward to actually earn the penalty, but the referee penalized the Waratahs for boring. And we'll have a look at it and look at maybe what indicators the referee looked at to actually give away this, to actually issue this penalty against the Waratahs for their own feet. Because later on in the game, the similar situation happened and it didn't get penalized. But this one, it's one that I wanted to really take a close look at. I think the number 3 is what we want to look at here for the Waratah side. He's really came in on a hard angle. A very, very sharp angle in the scrum. Okay, let's reset. He came out a really hard angle. Despite the scrum moving forward on both sides, the referee said that it was angle in and then walk around, right? It's been done for boring in. So let's have a look at this. Again, you really should zoom in instead of zooming out. Here we go. The engagement looks also. So one of the things that is a bit of a difference in the scrummaging here for the Waratahs is the delayed feed from Teddy Wilson in comparison to Gordon, because when Gordon's on the field, it's almost like hit and he instantly feed the ball in. There's a delay, a slightly longer delay from Teddy Wilson here, but the Waratahs again follows it through. Look like they're going forward. Look like the scrum has folded around here. You can see the tight head prop is at a massive angle. You can see that he's got his bind is always, it's almost like down on the shorts here on his right hand side, on his left arm, and he's completely come in at an angle. And the scrum marches sideways. You can see that he's almost the tight head prop is almost under his on the hooker here. That is a huge angle coming in. But I thought the scrum has moved forward on both ends sufficiently, but the referee pings the Waratahs for walking around and boring in. So yeah, it is interesting. It is really interesting to see. Maybe you've actually gone, maybe they've gone too far, but I can see where the referee is coming from here. But yeah, it's an interesting interpretation here, in my opinion. Power says 151 for the Druas, 155 for the Waratahs. Post contact meters 303 for the Druas, only 170 for the Waratahs. 4 line breaks for the Druas, 7 for the Waratahs. Look, the penalties conceded, only 6 for the Druas. The one given away is Rambutu. Did not have to do that. 8 for the Waratahs. So there's more penalty given out against the Waratahs than the Druas. 103 tackles made for the Druas, 25 missed tackles, 166 tackles made for the Waratahs, 31 missed tackles, slightly higher completion rate for the Waratahs. Total kicks in play, 20 for the Druas, 31 for the Waratahs. They have no kick meters for the for rugby pass here. So that's pretty much it, right? That's all the stuff you can see here. But yeah, anyway, this review has gone long enough. Go watch the highlights in terms of the recap. There's not too much to say here. Lots of tries being pounded in by the Waratahs. I'm sure I've missed some stuff here and there. But let me know your thoughts. Like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. I'll see you guys a bit later. Cheers.